Everyone, how goes it? My name is Zant, and this video is going to be a tutorial about Weakauras, how to make your own Weakauras specifically. Weakauras is a very powerful tracking add-on in World of Warcraft. Some substitutes you might know of are Tell Me When and Need to Know, and those add-ons do your job just fine. But Weakauras is so ridiculously powerful, you can do so much with it beyond just basic, which is just tracking something. So, just to give you an example of how powerful this add-on is, I have a very simple interface here at first glance, and once I target something attackable, you're going to see all this stuff pop up. You have all these panels in the middle, and each of these tracks a different spell. And once we actually get into combat, you start to see other things pop up. You got trinkets on the side, you have various procs in bar form above the nameplate. And then something else happens. You can even get some extra procs here. You have ice lances on either side, but if we get another crossfire bolt proc, the game by itself does not track two frostfire bolts. So having this extra weak aura, it's basically a texture of just some fire in between here. I can actually track something that the game should be tracking but isn't doing, and without breaking the whole setup that the game has already had in place, the whole texture thing. I like it. It's pretty intuitive and reactive. So now that you sort of see what you can do here, we're going to start by making just the basic aura, which is just an icon, and go from there. Jumping right into things. To open up your Weakauras configuration menu, you're going to type /WA in your chat bar. Hit enter. You're going to get a window that looks like this. Might be a bit smaller or a bit larger, but you can change the size right here. And now that it's on new, we're going to hit icon, and we're going to get this pop up in the middle of our screen. Right now it's a question mark. We haven't set it up to appear for any reason yet. The buff that we're going to track is Mark of the Frostwolf. This is your standard weapon enchant for multi-strike users. So we're going to name this Mark of the Frostwolf. This name right here is completely just a reference point. It doesn't actually do anything to gameplay. So we're going to hit trigger. Now this tab opens up. This is the most important tab when making a weak aura. This is where you put the information, then tells the add-on when to make this appear. So we're going to make sure that it's on aura, and we're going to type in here Mark of the Frostwolf. Right away we get 3 matches. That means that there are 3 buffs in the game by the name Mark of the Frostwolf. Looking at these, we can see that 2 of them don't actually match the usual Mark of the Frostwolf icon. And I can assume that they're sort of buffs on the back end that Blizzard hasn't taken out. So the real one is the first one in the list of 3, and that's fine because we're not going to get the other buffs. We're going to get that one, and as long as we type Mark of the Frostwolf here, it will still appear, so don't even worry about that. The unit is the player, us, and the aura type is a buff, not a debuff. Next, we're going to go back to display, and we're going to make sure that automatic icon is selected. This part is from an aesthetic standpoint, but it's pretty important, because if we don't have it on, then it's just going to give us a question mark, and we want it to show the Frostwolf, the Mark of the Frostwolf icon, so we're going to make sure that that's clicked. And we're going to close this. Now, we're going to jump into combat here for a minute, and when we get the Mark of the Frostwolf enchant to proc, that icon should then show up. We're going to click the mob, and we're going to throw a Frostbolt at it, and there we go. We got Mark of the Frostwolf right away. And now we can see it there, and we can even see a little number here that shows how many stacks it has. So you can see it's proccing back to back here, which is pretty cool. So that's how that works. We now know how to make a buff aura. I'm going to hit invis here to get out of combat. I'm going to open weak auras again, and now we're going to make another kind of aura. We're going to make an aura for when a buff is not active. So So basically what we've just done is we made an aura for when a buff is active, and now we want to make another aura for when a buff is inactive. We're going to make a new icon, and this time I'm going to track my standard mage buff, which is $on Brilliance. So we're just going to name it $on Brilliance. We're going to go back to the trigger tab. I'm going to put $on Brilliance as the aura name, and it is a buff for the player, but it's not going to do us much good to find out when we have the buff to have it pop up, because it's going to be on most of the time. We want to know when it's not on to remind us to use the buff to make sure that we have it at all times. So instead of leaving it as is, we're going to now click inverse. So now what it will do is it will activate when I don't have the buff rather than actually having the buff. I'm going to click that. By default, if we go back to display, automatic icon is now grayed out because it's not the trigger is not defined by an actual buff. It's defined by a negative of a buff, but that's not important. The important thing is we need the $on Brilliance icon to show up, so we're just gonna hit choose. Find $on Brilliance. There we go. Hit OK, and now we have the correct icon. And just to make sure the two don't overlap, we're going to move $on Brilliance over here. While in this configurations window, you can actually set which auras you want visible at any given time by clicking this little green eyeball in the window. So I can, if I want to position an aura in reference to another aura, that's a really good way to do it. Now we're going to close both of these. Right now we do not have Mark of the Frost Wolf, and we do have $on Brilliance, so there's nothing that's going to pop up. However, if we get rid of $on Brilliance, now we have a very good reminder, a very clear reminder that we need to rebuff. And then when we buff, it disappears again. And then, of course, once we go into combat here and Mark of the Frost Wolf procs, there it is. Of course, the positioning of these images is completely up to you. Like, you probably don't want to have a giant square in the middle of your screen, but that's how it works. I hope this was informative. I hope you got something out of this, and come back next time. I'm going to go a bit more in depth, look at some other forms of weak auras, and what are the different things you can track. See you guys next time.